Volume 1, the Tuggie series of publications.
Tuggie the Patriot Pup. Story by Lauren E. Kelly. Illustrations by Rick Shires. Live free, love Tuggie. The Crossing. Tuggie could hear his mother's heartbeat. Lying next to her, he was glad she was sleeping. In 10 days, they would reach the American colonies. He knew they would need all their strength when they reached Providence, Rhode Island. Tuggie's mother and father had cried and hugged each other on the pier back home in Yorkshire, England. His father had said, "I cannot go to the colonies with you and your mum, son. I have to continue to work in the mines here, or we won't have any money." Tuggie stared into the darkness of the ship. England and his father seemed very, very far away. The colonies. Tuggie ran down the gangplank and onto the pier in Providence. At last they were in the colonies. "Hurry up, Mum," he called out. Looking through men's boots and horses' hooves, Tuggie could see a little red-haired Yorkie about the same age as he. Tuggie had never seen a red-haired Yorkie before. "I know I'm new here in America," thought Tuggie, "but maybe he can be my friend." Tuggie tried to say hello first, but the red-headed Yorkie beat him to it. "Hello, my name is Half Moon O'Reilly," the redhead said. Surprised, Tuggie answered, "Good day, Half Moon. My name is Douglas R. Harrington III, but everyone calls me Tuggie." And then at the same time, they both said, "You've got a funny name, too." Tuggie's mother smiled at the boys finding each other. From behind them, Half Moon and Tuggie heard Mrs. Harrington ask, "Perhaps, Half Moon, you could help us find our new address." "Sure," replied Half Moon, "follow me." He led Tuggie and his mum through the busy crowd to a side street that seemed quieter. "I'll give you a chance to get settled, and then I'll be back to show you around some more," Half Moon exclaimed. Providence, Rhode Island. It didn't take long for Tuggie and his mum to get used to their new home. Tuggie spent all his days running with Half Moon, discovering everything about their new town and their neighbors. Everything was awfully different here in the colonies. He missed the quiet of Yorkshire, England. He missed the quiet of home. Providence was noisy. The men were always shouting at their horses as they went about their chores. But the people smiled a lot, and many of them along the pier owned their own shops. The days flew by, and Tuggie always made sure he was home before dark so his mother wouldn't be worried. But at night, after she blew out the last candle and tucked him in, Tuggie missed his father. He knew it would be a happy day when his father arrived at last, and they would all be together again. South Main Street. Tuggie called out to Half Moon, "Where are we going today, friend?" "Well, to a very important meeting later tonight," answered Half Moon. "Well, what is the very important meeting about?" asked Tuggie. "The colonists are unhappy with the English king and all his taxes," answered Half Moon seriously. "We colonists cannot pay his high taxes, and we have to let the king know we are serious about governing and taxing the colonies ourselves." Tuggie hadn't been in the colonies for long, and he was English. So to go to a meeting where everyone was mad at the king made him feel funny. The meeting. Tuggie's ears hurt. The men meeting at the tavern were talking very loudly. "We cannot afford to pay the taxes we have to pay now. The king cannot tax us anymore. We have to fight back." Tuggie had only lived in Providence for a year. He was born English. His father and mother loved King George. But Tuggie knew the angry colonists were right. Since he and his mother had arrived in the colonies, they could see almost everyone everywhere didn't have enough money. The colonists worked so hard every day, and they resented sending their money back to England. They wanted their money to stay here. But these men were saying they should blow up an English ship, the HMS Gaspee, to blow up a ship as a protest against the king. Tuggie thought hard and struggled. The HMS Gaspee was loaded with valuable supplies that the colonists needed and that the king expected to be paid for. Tuggie realized that this was an act of war against the English king. King George would be furious. June 9th. Tuggie looked up into his mother's eyes as he said his prayers. She kissed the top of his head and said goodnight. Soon the house would be dark and she would fall asleep. Then Tuggie would meet Half Moon just outside his back door, and together they would join the colonists to help fight for their freedom from the king. The HMS Gaspee. Tuggie and Half Moon ran side by side. They didn't speak. They just looked at each other intently out of the corners of their eyes, so as not to get too far ahead or too far behind each other. The colonists walked silently ahead of the pups. The men spoke to each other using hand signals and nods of their heads. Soon they were all on the harbor's edge, where 6 canoes waited to take them all out to climb aboard the English HMS Gaspee. Then they would destroy it, blow it up right in the harbor. Tuggie looked out onto the water. The HMS Gaspee was a dim vision in the early evening light. The ship doesn't look real, Tuggie thought. Maybe the king will listen to the colonists. And this thought stopped his paws in place, just as he and Half Moon were about to hop into the canoe. I don't want to destroy the king's ship. Maybe the colonists could try to make the king listen again. Come on, Tuggie, Half Moon whispered urgently. Come on, we need to get in the canoe now. Tuggie looked at Half Moon and then at the colonists. Is this what we have to do? Tuggie wondered. Do we have to blow this ship up in the harbor and destroy everything? He started to cry. Only one man remained on shore with the pups. He looked down at both Yorkies, nudged Tuggie with one of his boots, and spoke sadly. Pup up, boys. Time to get into the canoe. The explosion. Tuggie and Half Moon watched as the colonists blew up the HMS Gaspee. The flames reached high into the evening sky. There were large running feet and there were loud, sparking explosions as the ship began to sink. Everyone scrambled amongst each other, and with so much noise and so much smoke, all the pups could do was to stay out of the way. Suddenly, Tuggie realized he couldn't find Half Moon. When the ship began to turn over, they'd been separated. Half Moon, where are you? Tuggie shouted desperately. I can't find you, Half Moon. Answer me so I can find you. Tuggie sobbed. Tuggie, I'm over here, cried Half Moon. I'm over here, Tuggie. Find me. Tuggie ran to the other side of the ship, running to the sound of Half Moon's voice. This side of the HMS Gaspee was already inches into the cold salt water and sinking fast. There, through the smoke, Tuggie saw Half Moon up on his back paws, squinting and turning his head in all directions. Rushing to his friend's side, Tuggie sighed. I'm here, I'm right here, Half Moon. Follow me. We have to get off the ship now. Tuggie, I'll follow you. I'll try to. I will, struggled Half Moon. But Tuggie, I can't see you. Why can't I see you? Tuggie and his mother stood behind the doctor as he placed a patch on Half Moon's eye. You're a brave pup, little Half Moon O'Reilly, Dr. J. Miles said. losing an eye for our freedom from the king. And you too, Tuggie, you did the colonies proud. Mrs. Harrington, I hear your husband will be arriving next year from Yorkshire to join you and Tuggie. It will be complete for you all to be a family again. Then he placed Half Moon on the rough wooden floor beside Tuggie. Thank you for everything, Dr. Miles, Tuggie's mother replied quietly. No thanks for me, ma'am. I'm always proud to patch up heroes. The beginning. As Tuggie and Half Moon went out into the street, Tuggie realized all their lives had changed. Half Moon, Tuggie said, looking into the early sun, you and I are patriots now. We have protested with the colonists against the king. Shoulder to shoulder, with Mrs. Harrington behind them, the pups walked home. When his father joined them, Tuggie knew he would have to explain to him what happened to Half Moon and what they did to the king's ship. But that day was not today. Talk to Tuggie. Now you can talk to Tuggie and learn more about his story by visiting livefreelovetuggie.com. You can ask Tuggie questions and learn about history.